Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts. I'm okay. Not much has happened since the last episode, but so much. I'm very excited to talk about tonight's movie. It's when we get to do foreign films, right? It doesn't happen very often, um, where we're like, oh god damn it, you're muted again. All right, now.
You son of a bitch.
the evening of technical difficulties. Okay. Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts.
I'm Rodney Godek. How are you doing, brother? You're doing great. It hasn't been long since we last talked, but we're both in it. We get a foreign treat tonight.
That's right. Tonight we're going to talk about Piggy, a Spanish film. Let's just get right to it. An overweight teen is bullied by a clique of cool girls poolside while holidaying in her village. The long walk home will change the rest of her life.
I mean, that's not a really accurate description of the events that are going to happen, but it's fine because, like, what do you really say about this? I mean, it's fine. She's not holidaying; she fucking lives there.
Yeah, and the girls aren't holidaying either. They live there too, and they go to school with her. So
this is an overweight teen is being bullied by classmates in a small Spanish village when mysterious disappearances begin to occur, and the teen finds herself at the center of it all. Boom.
Better
roasted.
Rocked it. Okay. IMDb, hire this guy.
Man, speaking of rocked it, man, if you're not hard as a rock when you watch this, then I think you just don't get it.
All right. So, Piggy, written and directed by Carlotta Pareda. I don't know if this is her first feature. Let's find out. Looks like it.
Find out.
Yep, looks like it.
Cool.
Okay. So, first of all, excellent.
More than likely, she did the short that this was based upon.
Yes, which was called.
Which came out a couple years ago.
I think it was called Cerdita, which is Piggy. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Laura Galan plays Sarah, who is the main character, and she definitely gets bullied, bullied pretty hard, actually. Like, horror movie bullies have been a staple since the beginning of horror cinema, and every time I see them in a horror movie,
of many a movie.
Yes, every time I see them in a horror movie, I'm like, man, these guys are brutal. Every horror movie bully is like, gotta be 100 times worse than real bullies, or maybe not 100 times.
Yeah, I mean, it does make me
times.
Think back to times that I've seen or been the victim of certain bullying, and it mirrors life. So how about we recap what it is that we're going to do here. We're going to give a quick rundown of the movie, quick impressions, broad strokes, score 1 to 10, 1 being low garbage movie, 10 being excellent, include it in your collection, and then we'll get into a spoiler discussion afterward. So Piggy, broad stroke it, brother.
Okay. Piggy is excellently acted. Once again, it's a foreign film, so you never can tell, but I'm going to give it, 10 stars for acting. The effects were very good. There weren't a lot of them, unfortunately. This is it's, I don't want to call it a slow burn because it does get very tense fairly quickly. But then there's a lot of story and a little bit of back and forth, and it does lull a little bit in the middle. But the finale, the climax, is excellent. Definitely worth the wait. Definitely worth the watch. I got to give Piggy a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that it is amazing performance by the lead. The vulnerability that I know that it takes to do something like this, to be so comfortable enough or to have to be brave enough to put yourself out there to do this film. Like I've never bullying and especially fat shaming, especially in this kind of a film, it's been done in movies before. Well, this is also on it's coming out before The Whale comes out, which was a very polarizing feature with Brendan Fraser, where he plays a morbidly obese man, and I think people have criticized it because it seems like they're making fun of him, and it's not like a connection. But we're going to see what happens with that. So this one is sort of like, you don't see this happen a lot in film. Fat shaming and body dysmorphia and things like that have occurred in film before, but like never before, to me at least, has it been this overt and in your face, where it feels almost exploitative to watch because of what this actor is doing to convey this character and the things that she has to do on screen. She obviously is very comfortable with herself and willingness to follow the vision of the director, you know? So, for me, she leads it, and the story is strong enough to maintain interest. It does have a bit of a lull, but it's still engaging, and you kind of like, your emotions are changing throughout the whole film as far as like fighting for her, but then also being like kind of taken back by how she's reacting to the events and questioning decisions and motives. A few things that are awkward, but satisfying conclusion by the end of it. I think that I land at a 6 with it, though. But it's not a very I'm not firmly planted there. I can see it going higher. So tonight is a weird night for as far as where I'm sitting with the scores, but I landed at a 6 with Piggy. I'm excited to talk in detail about it.
Okay, so let's get into it. Yeah, okay. First, right away, this girl's performance. I mean, she's half naked through half of the movie. So yeah, to be able to put yourself out there to do this and just,
Yeah.
I mean, so to get into a little bit.
I mean, she's literally filling the screen. It's you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I mean, from a like cinematography DP point of view, I mean, there are scenes where there's no dialogue and there's no purpose other than to expose this character. And
Yeah,
she does it a few times. She does like a shower. They do like her and her alone in her bedroom where she's like sneaking snacks and stuff. And it's just like close ups. You're right there, and she's just it's so good and also super painful to watch as a overweight person
Yes.
myself, and someone who suffered from body dysmorphia as a child, preteen,
Yeah.
which is crazy, right? So you go back to the 90s and like mental illness didn't exist, right? So or like as
Right.
far as like we were concerned, we lived in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? I was like 12 years old without an ounce of fat on my body, and I remember being at the pool and like covering myself up because I was so ashamed at how fat and disgusting it was.
Yeah.
So watching Piggy for me was like, I was sucked in right away, just from the subject matter. Bravo for making the film, for acting in the film. Yeah, I was hooked right away, and I think anyone who has any experience with this sort of thing, who can relate to this character in any way, will also be happy that they watched it, that they got to connect and go through this movie with this character.
Yeah, it's a very human film, and she definitely sucks you in to her story. You feel for her, her dynamic with her friend group or her peer group that completely is repulsed by her for the most part, and so vehemently antagonistic toward her in the most offensive ways. And then her relationship with her parents that don't really get her, or like don't connect with her on a real level. Like it's a very, authoritarian type relationship where it's like parent child. There's no love or bonding in that kind of way. It's a different kind of relationship. And so um
Yeah. Well, another
to
thing.
see how isolated she must feel, they really drive that home, and so you connect with her almost immediately, and that's what engages you throughout the course of the movie, to see her um evolution, and you want to see her to claw her way out and come out the victor in whatever is going to transpire, and get some sort of comeuppance to those that have wronged her. And by the conclusion of the movie, it's like you think it's one way, and they go another. uh we'll get to your thoughts on that in a minute, but go
Yeah.
on. What were you going to say?
Um, you mentioned it's such a human movie. I completely agree in that. Um, it's set in another country, and you don't really feel that way though. Besides the fact that the movie's subtitled, you're not
Right.
watching this going, seeing the cultural differences. This is a very, everybody's movie where it's just a small family running a family-owned
Hmm.
business, and it looks like they live above the place, right? Um,
Yep.
the father is kind of like aloof. He just does what he does, and he's genuinely affectionate to his children because he takes no role in rearing them. And then the mother
Right.
is the boss. She's the house manager. She raises the kids. She gets in a fight with Sarah about being fat, and she says, "But mom, you're fat too." And she's like, this is a different kind of fat, lady. You don't get it. Like, this is you're a fat you're a fat child. I earned this fat. I had two kids and have run this household. Like, it's
Right.
it's it's like everyone has heard these conversations, um, either in their own household or in their friends' households. All the dialogue was very real and realistic
Hmm.
to teens, and just having problems like this at home. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the most unrealistic thing in this movie for me was how hard she got bullied. Other than that, I believe everything.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty rough. So I suppose the unrealistic thing, almost the Stockholm syndrome that occurs seemingly,
Right.
it's a weird thing. But I want to sidebar quickly and just say, if people are looking to watch this film, and at this point you probably have already seen it, do not watch the English dub version of this film. I began to watch it, and the first line of dialogue, I immediately stopped the fucking movie because it is so horrendously bad, and I had to switch to the subtitle version because it was like a delay in like when it was available to watch it under those circumstances, and so God, the dub is awful. You have to watch this in its native language with subtitles.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so, yeah, for me, like, so the story is kind of wild. It has a very like Italian Argento-esque type tale, of this slasher almost, or this
Yeah,
this that's out there, right?
it does kind of feel like a giallo,
Yeah.
with like how you follow the slasher, how he's kind of like
Yeah.
she kind of like happens upon him, and then he like he does his business, and then the movie goes on. We follow her, and then in the background you see that he's killed a couple more people. Like,
Right. And but because like, like he is witness to the bullying, and so whether or not he took those girls to even the tables or the scales
right.
with what happened to her, the thing that's interesting is I like the relationship that is developed between the two. And when I said Stockholm syndrome, it's like, she starts to gain an affinity for him because he helps her at that day when she's walking home with nothing but her bathing suit on, practically nude. She's being bullied and bullied and bullied. She comes upon the road where he's finishing off one of his victims. He's getting in the van. She sees her friend asking for help, and he gives her the towel, which is her friend's towel, which
Yeah.
leads to people discovering it's not her towel and her being questioned and at the center of it. So like that initial connection and the way that they continue toying with that connection as it goes on, because there's reasons why she's going to go back to the woods to get the phone. And she's like, she's just trying to not be a part of it because she doesn't want to be involved because
Right.
of the humiliation of the event and everything else that's
Sure.
now happened. Uh, like it the story naturally unfolds.
Yeah. The
Um,
you hear the phrase emotional roller coaster when the people talk about movies, and like this movie really does it.
yeah,
It puts you in a lot of seats at a lot of different times where you're rooting for her to like you said, kind of hero's journey and come out the other side the victor, and grow, as a person, and get over her issues. But at the same time, you're like, if you don't tell the cops about the guy, he's gonna keep killing. And you're like, but then you're like, I I think she killed your friends. I hope she did because they were fucking assholes. But at the same
yeah,
time, you're like, but I don't want them to die because you're killing people is bad. But man, they really deserve it if they do die.
yeah. I know.
And then
Yeah.
when you get to
Or
the
like you keep wanting to see it, you see that they disappear or that they're
yeah.
missing, and so like you're kind of waiting, like, oh, I can't wait to see where they're chained up and like he's doing awful things to him. Like you kept wanting it to like change perspectives and point of views and go to his and like watch him, fucking Eli Roth these girls or
Yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah.
like because of you feel so defend like you want to defend her and you want revenge for this offense that's on her, and it's just natural. And like I feel like that the movie proposes that as a thing, and you're wrestling with it the whole movie with, just like you said, like the emotion roller coaster. Like you're connected with her and you're wanting revenge for yourself, but you're also realizing that you need to be the bigger person and that's not how you that will not heal you, that won't correct any of the things, that won't change any of the wrongs that have been committed upon you, that won't do any of it. How you wrestle with this and come out on the other end for yourself is what you'll be lasting what will be lasting with you. And so this hero's journey is it's engaging the whole way through.
Yeah. Yeah, like they run into each other in the woods, and because she's trying to find
Mhm.
her phone, and there's a search party there looking for the friend of hers that just super bullied her and disappeared,
Yeah.
and she stays silent. She lets him get away, and then she runs off in the other direction, like,
Right.
um, and then he comes to her house and sees that her parents are also kind of verbally abusive to her. Not really so much the father, but he comes in and he kind of tries to subdue them and take her away, and she kind of just lets it happen.
Right.
He goes up to kill her brother, and she looks at him. She like shakes her head, and he listens to her. Right? He's
Yeah.
got this obsession or whatever you want to call it, because he's obviously
Fetish.
a troubled individual. Yeah, with her. So they go out to his van and they drive away, and he gives her one of those little, Twinkie type cakes.
Yeah, fucking
Yeah,
yeah. Little Debbie, Twinkie, fucking Snowball,
yeah.
whatever it is.
She's been eating them through the whole movie. It's like her favorite. So he gives her one, and they go to his hideout or whatever. And like this is you're feeling so many different things while this is going on. Like,
Yeah.
he attacked the parents, which you feel bad because the dad really didn't deserve it, but the mom was such a bitch.
Hmm.
It's like super cool that she shakes her head and he doesn't go after the boy, that he listens to her. You don't know where it's going. You don't know if she is developing these actual romantic feelings, or if she just is happy to connect with someone and just feel kind of
Yeah, I
safe.
know, to feel seen,
Yeah,
right?
because what
Because
happened.
she has that night in her home, where her house with the vibrator. She's like, she's thinking about it, and she's like, she's having a release that she's never gotten to have, or well, she's obviously done it before, because they have a joke about looking at porn on the phones, and the kid's gonna tattle on her, and she
Right.
wants to tattle on him, and she's like, we both do this, just fucking relax,
Yeah, yeah.
um but like, yeah, now she has this other guy that she can kind of fantasize that's the closest potential to being like a real life partner that she could envision, because it's the only person that she's ever been with that has shown kindness in her way. And
Right.
that's super sad and traumatic, because it's like, this is what she's left to, is like
Right.
to pine over this maniac.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up, and I'm sure she's struggling with that herself. Like, why am I doing this? I'm hating myself for doing this, but I need this. I need this release.
Right. I that's also what makes the conclusion so much more powerful. You go through like so many things during the last 5 to 10 minutes of this movie,
Yeah.
that we're about to break down for you. Right. So she wakes up and she's on a table, and you're like, oh my god, is he just like been nice to her because he was gonna kill her too? Um, and she gets up, she walks around, and he's not anywhere around, and she finds two of the friends, the friend that was old friends with her that bullied her, and then the nasty bully, the leader of the group. And so we can assume the other two kids are dead, because I think there was four of them. So the two girls are strung up and still alive, and they're like, help me, help me, help me. And she's like, she's like, you guys were really dicks to me. And
Yeah.
yeah, and she doesn't help them for a bit, and then she like might try to help them.
Yeah, she like goes up and she's trying to figure out because they're kind of like on meat hook type things, like hanging, and their feet are tied, and so she's going up and she's fussing with the one, but she can't get it, and she loosens it, and she kind of travels down the
She
track,
slides down the track,
and but then the guy comes, and now
back.
she's like a cat and mouse, where she's afraid of him and she's running from him, and he does seem to be aggressive toward her. Try to find her.
Yeah, and they do run into each other, and he's like, no, don't be scared, I'm not going to hurt you, I'll never hurt you, you're safe with me. And he gives her a knife, right?
Yeah, I don't really remember how things play out between the two of them.
It's definitely a knife. He gives her a knife, and he basically points her at one of the girls, and is like, here, I got this for you, this is my present to you. And she turns and tries to attack him with the knife. So like, even through all of this and all this horrible things and her protecting him, she doesn't, like, he's got this obsession, you could call it love or whatever. He probably thinks it's love. She does not reciprocate, right? She definitely has a connection with him, but she's not a bad person. She
knows that this is wrong. Yeah.
And so she tries to kill him.
She can't do it. She tries to kill him.
Yeah. So now they fight, and eventually they fight over a gun. And I'm pretty sure this is where he dies. But during the fight with the gun, it goes off and blows off the one girl's hand. And it looks it looks so good. They did such a good job with this.
Pretty gnarly.
Yeah. They did such a good job with this. And they did a really good job with how he died too. Which I can't remember if it was the knife or the gun. It might have been both. She might have stabbed him and then shot him. But then,
because by the end of it, she is covered in blood.
She's covered in blood. Yeah. So then she fires one.
Oh
shot.
no, yeah. I think isn't this where it's crazy? Doesn't she like completely tear him apart? Like, and that's what's happened. Like, she gets his guts and stuff. Like, and doesn't she like disemboweling him practically?
Yeah, I think she gets on top of him with the knife and just goes to town. So she fires a shot into the air, and she fires another shot into the air, and you're like, oh, she just killed her two friends. Sweet. But she didn't.
Well, because yeah, but that's the thing, like, because the girl's berating her even still because she's like, you piggy, you can't even do this right, you dumb pig. Like, and you see her point the gun and she shoots it, and you don't hear anything, and then she points and she shoots, and so you're assuming she just took out both of the friends, and then the reveal that she actually just freed them from their binds.
Yeah, she shot their
and
chains.
She walks out. Was sort of like an amazing moment, because you wanted her to fucking take him out.
Yeah,
because there would be a perfect excuse, like, yeah, he did it.
He did it, and then I killed him.
And who's gonna say otherwise?
Yeah, she definitely had the out, but she was the bigger person.
Yeah. You didn't react to my first one. That's fine.
No, I didn't on purpose, but then I gave it back to you. I stooped to your level with the rod.
I mean, it's we are. I think we both can relate and understand and sympathize with this character. We are trying to be lighthearted and have fun with it. We're not.
No,
yeah. I know you went into it, and yeah. As far as the body dysmorphia,
I think I covered our bases
there
there.
with you. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I think that this film hits a lot of boxes for a viewer. I think that if you're into meaningful, dramatic thriller, horror type film, you're into it. Foreign films. If you have a BBW kink, for sure this is a film for you, because you're gonna get it the whole movie, and it's gonna be in your face. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, my dick was hard for most of it, for different reasons throughout it, and that was exciting. So
this movie, I gave it a 7 out of 10, and talking about it just makes me like it even more. I'm not gonna raise that. I'm not gonna raise it to an 8, but I really think this is a great movie, and you should see it. Like this, it's not in my top 5 for 2022, but it's definitely a must see. Especially,
and it's just unique. What it does. You don't see a lot of the emotional wrangling of these kind of ideas. You don't see executed to this level often in films or in the horror / thriller genre. So I think that's why it's sort of appealing, because we haven't seen a movie like this in quite some time. It's a unique modern story. That was enjoyable and just well executed. So it's recommended for sure.
Yeah, I mean, from a directorial, DP, whatever, cinematography standpoint, like, it's a beautiful movie. All the shots are very good, especially when they're alone with Sarah, and the shots are very intimate, very exposing, her vulnerability. Once again, I know we've already mentioned this, but it's the movie's good on so many different levels, right? She does complete the hero's journey. She comes out the other side. She doesn't kill her friends. She gets on the little dirt bike with the stoner kid who she shared a laugh with earlier. The only other character that she shares a moment with, where she feels like a person. The only guy who treats her like a normal person, besides this maniac. So yeah, just a great story with an excellent finish. I would definitely suggest it. And with that, I believe that concludes episode 15 of the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts.
And I'm Rodney Goda. Take care.
And we'll see you next week.